On Christmas Eve, the wealthy but lonely Dennis stumbles upon a lost 8-year-old boy in the town square. Haunted by memories of his own childhood, Dennis soon discovers that his life will change in ways he never imagined. The square was filled with lights and laughter. Children were rollerblading, their cheeks red with cold. Couples walked hand in hand, leaning over, bundled up and smiling. A small group of Christmas carols sang on the corner near the big tree, voices warm even in the cold air. I took it all in, trying to feel something. You'd think that a successful guy like me, an orphan who grew up to be a businessman, wouldn't feel out of place here. But here I was, alone, just like any other holiday season. I had a few relationships over the years, but my partners weren't interested in me, only in my bank account. Suddenly, I felt someone collide with me, and I turned to see a young woman sprawled on the ground, looking at me with a smile. His laugh was contagious, and for a split second, I couldn't help but smile back. She was beautiful, bright-eyed, with a spark that caught me off guard. Oops, she laughed, still sitting there. Sorry, I don't think I'm as good at roller skating as I thought. It's okay, I said, offering a hand to help her up. Are you sure you're okay? But just as quickly, a tall guy came, frowning as he pulled her away from me. Hey buddy, what's the matter here? Hitting on my girl? No, I wasn't, I said quickly, pulling back, hands up. Just helping her get up, that's all. Yes, well, don't do that, he muttered, giving me a furious look as he led her away. She looked back once, muttering a quick sorry, and then they were gone, swallowed up by the crowd. I stood there for a moment, shaking my head. I turned to leave, ready to go home. Then I felt a little tug on my coat. I turned around, kind of expecting that girl again, but instead I found myself looking at a boy. He couldn't have been more than 8 years old, with big brown eyes and a nervous look on his face. He held a small keychain, his hand shaking. Excuse me, sir, he said, his voice soft and polite. I need help. I can't find my family. I haven't seen them in days. The words hit me like a blast of cold air. Have you lost your family? I asked, lowering myself to his eye level. When was the last time you saw them? The boy looked down, shuffling his feet. I'm not sure, but I've been looking for it for a while. But please, sir, don't call the police. Not to call the police? I asked, intrigued. But if you've been lost for days? He nodded vigorously. No police. I've heard people say that sometimes when parents don't have a lot of money, the police take the kids away. And my family doesn't have much. They are poor. I'm afraid they're gonna take me away too. I looked at him, feeling a twinge of something I hadn't felt in years. I knew what it was like to be a child worried about being taken away. All right, I said gently, resting a hand on his shoulder. Without police, I promise. We will. Let's find them, okay? He nodded, a relief running across his face. Thank you, sir. I didn't know who else to ask. Call me Dennis, I said. And what's your name? Ben, he replied, squeezing his keychain a little tighter. All right, Ben, I said. We'll take you home. Do you know where you live? He nodded. It's a little far from here. I can show you. I think I remember. I called my driver and waited in the cold as he pulled up to the curb. Ben got in first, settling into the back seat. I followed him, closing the door and looking at him. So, I said, trying to start a conversation, what kind of keychain is this? It feels pretty special. He looked down, fingers wrapping the small silver heart around his keychain. It's just a keychain they give you in this place I once stayed. I looked closer, realizing that it looked familiar. Very familiar. So, do you like Christmas? I asked. Yes, it's cool, he muttered, still looking out the window. When we got to the address he had given, I got out and walked with him to the front door. He hit once, then another. Silence. Maybe they went to my grandparents' house, he said, though he didn't seem convinced. I glanced at the square, its lights twinkling in the distance. All right, Ben, I said, kneeling at his level. Maybe we'll take a break. How about we go back to the square and enjoy some things while we wait? Have you ever skated? He looked at me, his eyes shining. I don't have it. Can we? I stood up, smiling. Of course. Why not? As we drove back to the square, Ben's face lit up with excitement. The whole place was glowing, with lights hanging from every tree and children running around. I hadn't done much for the holidays in a long time, but tonight felt different. So skate first? I asked, pointing to the rink. Ben's eyes widened. Really? Can I? Absolutely. Let's buy some skates. Minutes later, we were on the ice. Ben took off, trembling at first, his little arms flailing. I was not an expert, but I managed to stand up. We slip, stumble, and laugh. I felt lighter than I had in years. "Look, Dennis. I did it," he shouted, sliding a little more steadily, with a smile on his face. "You're already a professional," I laughed, half jokingly. "I'm going to need lessons from you." After skating, we tried one of the games in a tent, throwing rings at bottles. He didn't win, but he almost knocked down the entire tent because he was so excited. "Can we have hot chocolate?" he asked, looking at the nearby stall. "Of course," I said. We grabbed our steaming cups, found a bench to sit on, and watched the crowd. As he drank, Ben looked so content. His cheeks were flushed, and there was a peace in his expression that felt like a gift. I looked at him, a warmth growing in my chest that I hadn't felt in years. I had only known this kid for a few hours, but I felt connected to him. And I didn't want the night to end. But eventually I cleared my throat. "Ben, maybe it's time to go back to the shelter." He looked up, surprised, and for a moment his face dropped. "How did you know?" He smiles gently, pointing to his keychain. I recognized that keychain the second I saw it. They gave the same when I stayed there. His eyes widened. Were you in the shelter?" I nodded. "A long time ago. I was about your age. So I get it. I understand what it's like to want a family, even if it's just for one night." Ben's eyes fell to the floor, and he nodded slowly. I wanted to feel like I had a family, just for Christmas." "Yes," I said softly. "I know, and I'm so glad I spent Christmas Eve with you, Ben." He looked up, and I saw the gratitude in his eyes. "Me too, Dennis." We walked back to the shelter in silence, the warmth of the night settling between us. When we arrived, a familiar face was waiting outside. It was her, the young woman who had bumped into me before. Her eyes widened with relief when she saw us. "There you are," she exclaimed, running up to Ben and hugging him tightly. "We were so worried about you. We should notify the police that you have returned." Ben shook her hand and muttered, "I was fine. Dennis helped me." The woman looked at me, her expression softening. "Thank you so much for bringing him back." She let out a sigh, then added with a tired smile, "I'm Sarah. I am a volunteer here. We have been looking for him since this afternoon." "Nice to meet you, Sarah," I said, realizing that this must be more than a chance encounter. We stood there for a moment, trapped in a quiet, shared relief. She looked exhausted, her face a mixture of worry and something more, hurt perhaps. I hesitated and asked, "Difficult night?" She nodded, looking away. "I found out that my boyfriend, well, he was cheating on me. Tonight, of every night." She laughed sadly, wiping away a tear. "But I think that's how it goes." On an impulse, I said, "Well, would you like to have a coffee?" She looked at Ben, then back at me. "Actually, I would love that." Over the next few months, I saw myself at the shelter frequently. Sarah and I would meet there, talk for hours, and help together. The more time we spent, the closer we became, both to each other and to Ben. It seemed to glow whenever we were all together, and soon the shelter felt like the home I hadn't realized I was missing. By the time the next Christmas came, everything had changed. Sarah and I were married, and Ben had officially become our son. That Christmas Eve, we returned to the square, the three of us holding hands, surrounded by laughter and lights. We watched the skaters, drank our hot chocolate, and felt at peace as our little family, a miracle in the making. Let us know what you think of this story and share it with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them. See you in the next exciting story.